Bam, 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 bam.
Welcome to yet another Gaseous Anomalies. Again, we have my very musical host, co-host, Michael Pontone, and I'm Matthew Ross. This is episode 5. We're looking at Star Trek's The Enemy Within. How are we doing tonight, Mike? Found out that we could connect without so many technical difficulties.
We're doing good. I regret that I am the reason why we were delayed. I'm sure that one or two of our listeners were like, where's the weekly episode? But,
well, you know, we're cutting the road. But here we are. We had to deal with our own enemies within. This is actually another one of my favorites. I know I'm going to say like all of them are my favorites. That's not exactly true, but this is actually a tour de force of pure William Shatner being twice the man he is, as he split apart Jekyll and Hyde style in this interesting episode. This is one of the ones I enjoyed. And since you haven't seen this really either before, what are your general impressions? Did you enjoy this episode?
I loved it. I thought that it was a fantastic little slice of good old classic Trek. Yes, I was supremely impressed. And it was a better written episode than a lot of TNG episodes, but a very TNG conceit.
Well, it is interesting. It was the splitting of a part. The actual writer, Richard Matheson, said that he wanted to do something like Jekyll and Hyde, and I think he captured it well. We start off on the planet Alpha 177. They're doing some sort of geological survey. Some Yutz geological technician Fisher falls down in yellow dust. When they beam aboard the ship, he beams aboard the ship for an injury. It makes the transporter go wonky. And when they beam around Captain Kirk, first he comes up, and right before the commercial break, the evil Captain Kirk comes out. He's not really evil, but he's the more force where the sides of lust, passion, command, decision ability comes out right thereafter. And we're on our way. That's actually one of the more interesting concepts, and I think unlike the last several episodes that we've seen, this deals more with obviously the duality of man. We're dealing with what actually makes one person a person. What makes Captain Kirk Captain Kirk? You've got the more reasoned, comfortable side that we all like to show our faces, our fellow man or fellow humans. And then you have the more passionate or angry side, if you will, the side that we turn to when we lose our thin veneer of civilization. We get angry. I thought that, I could say that I've met my own evil Matt Ross on occasion. I'm sure you've met your evil Mike Pontone on your own occasion. Did you like the way they handled it with the splitting of the transporter?
Yeah, I thought it was very good. A classic transporter problem that would come up a couple of different times. Echoes of future Star Trek. You've got, obviously, Thomas Riker being born out of a transporter error that no one even knew about him for 7 years. That cuck became a Maquis and then died like a cluck, but that's fine.
Well, you don't know if he was dead. He could be in jail. I'm sure the Cardassians are treating him well.
Yeah, great. You get out of a 7-year-long isolated hellhole, and you decide to become a freedom fighter against the one race that, well, I guess I'd rather be in a Cardassian prison camp than like a Romulan prison camp.
But that's true. That's the episode Second Chances in Star Trek: The Next Generation, and then I forget the episode with he was also in the DS9 episode, which is I'll have to Google it, but yeah, that was
obviously Tuvix.
Right, Tuvix, where Tuvix must die is my catchphrase. But there's also in the animated series, which eventually we'll get to, they'll use the transporter to fix lots of things. But this is the very first thing, and something that you mentioned on their way to, or rather, booming up from Alpha 177, which apparently can go down to 120 degrees. You asked me, how come they just didn't use the shuttlecraft? Well, I joked with you when we were watching the episode, we had the shuttlecraft were getting detailed and washed, but in reality, they didn't think of shuttlecraft, and also, when they did think of it eventually, it was a cost-saving was to use a transporter, which is a television effect. To build another set would have cost money, and, TV and spending money just don't go hand in hand, and Star Trek didn't have millions as it was.
Yeah.
So,
I was about to say, you've obviously got a continuity problem there, as transporters weren't even around in Enterprise, the prequel.
well, they had shuttlecraft, but the Enterprise didn't have it. So, everyone said it was in a shuttle wash, or, they were putting the red stripes, the racing stripes on the side, or a Starburst.
They could have come up with any sort of headcanon. Maybe the atmosphere of the planet would not allow for a shuttlecraft to go down. By the way, that dog is so cute. I can't believe they get freaking killed in it.
The horn dog?
Yes, the horn dog. Very, very beautiful. Very obviously unhappy about being under the hot lights and wearing this stupid costume. But I gotta say, this is probably one of this is probably the first dogs that I've seen in Star Trek since the old Porthos.
Yeah, this is, but this one's a space dog because it has a horn. Something also interesting is talking about costumes. If you think back to it, while they're on the planet, Shatner's command tunic does not have a command star. And in fact, when he beams up, he still doesn't have the star. I always thought that was an error in the show. Well, in a way it is, but apparently there was something to do with the cleaning of the uniforms. They didn't have enough time to, cleaning in real life, not on the ship. They didn't have time to sew on the command star again after I came back from the cleaners. When they're, on television, you gotta get out those 26 episodes a season. We only got like 6 days per episode. They don't have time to waste, so that's why it's not there. It is interesting.
What's the deal with Star Trek with Kirk garb? When he's on the bridge, sometimes he's wearing that more kind of casual, soft tunic. That's, I guess, when he's not in an away mission, right?
Well, no, he actually wears it on away missions. I think the green tunic, which I actually like, the green wraparound, it only worked they wore it like 2 or 3 times, or 3 times in total. But also remember from the color palette, the tunics only look yellow. They're actually supposed to be a slightly greenish, but they came across through the lighting on the TV as yellow. But the reason why they gave him the green one is to tell him apart from his evil counterpart. That was the main reason for doing it. I still think that despite that separation to try and prove how they're different, I still think it works pretty well. He comes back up to the ship, he changes, but it goes to his quarters, and he kind of passes out when his young man says, I worked on all this paperwork for you guys. Yeah, get out. But the other Kirk goes into sickbay and he asks for Sarah Brandy. Give me the brandy. I thought that was hilarious. Or the Shatner was able to show the 2 different sides of him, of himself.
Straight whiskey and violent lovemaking.
Well, hey, nothing wrong with that. It's probably
There's actually a lot wrong with that. What I was trying.
You're right.
The whiskey. Okay. Well, cancel.
Yeah, but that's interesting. You had asked me, why does McCoy have booze in the sickbay? Well, it's only for medicinal purposes, as you would say, but he is the resident alcoholic. And that bottle itself is iconic. That's Dicko's Tennessee whiskey from the 60s. Now it's a collector's item. I myself have like a little tiny item version of it, like from a convention I bought. It was like $2. Not a glass one, like a silent piece of like, I don't know, something plaster that looks like it. So that's a Saurian brandy bottle. It's very iconic for Star Trek, and they use it all the way through. I think they used it on DS9 and TNG, and it comes from the Saurians, we never see, but their product is now world famous, even though it's just a redressed actual whiskey bottle. I bet you were thinking like, oh man, I gotta get me some of that. You can buy Dicko's Tennessee whiskey, it just will not be in that bottle.
I'm sure we can get on Etsy and find one of those bottles.
You can find those battles. You can go to eBay. That's where we are. I think it's hilarious watching him walk through the hallways, just drinking it. No one's bothering. Like, hey, Captain, I see you're turning into a alcoholic freak. For a ship of 430 personnel, I guess. Let's stay out of the way of the captain. Looks like he's having a rough day. Right. But then again, we come back to the rivalry between McCoy and Spock right thereafter. Seems like the doctor's having fun with you, is what he says. Kirk said, the calmer Kirk, or the softer Kirk, says to Spock, when Spock says, you need something. What do you think is the kind of like, the fact that Kirk says that McCoy is picking on Spock all the time? You think McCoy hates Spock, or he's just being like a jackass? What do you think?
No, I don't think that McCoy hates Spock. I think that if McCoy didn't like Spock, he wouldn't talk to him. Ultimately, I think that he's a good old boy. He's a Southern sawbones doctor, and he likes making a bit of fun with, with the resident nerd. I mean, also, Spock can take it, too. It's impressive. Imagine if you had someone who was a good friend who you could not hurt the feelings of, no matter what you did.
Yeah, I like to say that about you, but, I would never hurt your feelings, Mike. I love you.
No, of course.
In a brotherly way. I actually did like that lemonade and the look of the nose that Spock has as anything, and then we get into the fact that Mr. Battle Drinking Kirk goes into his yeoman's quarters, drinking. This is where we start an attempted rape. A couple of scenes later, you were saying like you were surprised that they let that go on for so long.
I was about to say, why are they going to cut? Like, this is like 10 seconds too long here for modern network television. I mean, you got
to get toughed up there, Bucko. As you were saying, no one says that anymore. So there you go. But that's kind of an interesting scene. I always thought that, and I think it was a young man said that Shatner actually slapped her at one point to get her into the character of like fear and something like that. It was actually an exercise, not abuse.
She was acting very well.
Yeah, it was really interesting. All right, before I forget, Lieutenant Uhura is technically in this episode.
We hear her voice.
And you hear her voice. Also, Eddie Paskey, who's later as Lieutenant Leslie, is in this as I think it was his name was Connors. You'll see him again. I'll point him out later. He's like the longest serving third-party character, but no one really knows who the heck he is. He's also one of the body doubles of William Shatner. Excuse me. The other one, I have to switch my old man paper around there. Don Etme, he's also a body double in there. That comes up later, but it's interesting that they got people that look like Shatner from the back mostly for like far scenes or from distant scenes.
I thought that the cinematography in this episode was excellent. There were some really good shots, like when they're looking for the double in, I guess, the warehouse space. Wherever the deep
engineering section.
Yes, the engineering section, which I have to say, actually, I always thought that it was the way J.J. Abrams shot the engineering was quite, weird and not accurate. It's like, well, there's no rib clear here. What's going on? Why is it in this big brewery? But looking at the first episodes, I'm like, hey, it's much more tonally consistent with the first episodes of TOS, what he was doing there, with all the pipes.
I think you're thinking back to the ending of the 2009 episode where they're ejecting stuff. Just that part is close to it. That they are walking past various things, and the engineering deck gets its actual upgrade in the motion picture, where they change everything around, and the Enterprise gets refit, and they have like this long room with a huge engine core. But right now, you're just looking into a distance past like this aluminum netting or letter, and you could see like giant tubes pointing up in various ways to try and, you're not sure if that's the impulse deck, or it's a fusion reactor, or that's the real core. It doubles as both. But yeah, that's where Kirk goes to hide. And in those scenes, you get to see the body double from Kirk from behind. But you also mentioned that you thought it was pretty close. They were not exactly the same size.
I thought it was excellent. Yeah, the body double was a little bit buffer, but the way they shot it, where, in shadows, far away, not bad at all. I was very impressed. And again, the cinematography was fantastic. Like, the long shot, the shadows, it was so much more interestingly designed than, I'm always comparing it to the 90s stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was much better than a lot of the cinematography that you would see in TNG and DS9, and certainly Voyager. That show was felt like a Pepsi commercial the entire time.
Hey, it was the 90s.
Well, I mean, it's like, hey, the gritty, the gritty, we're lost in the far reaches of space. That's what I always couldn't stand about Voyager. It's like, man, these people look like they're sweating it the least of any crew I've ever seen. They're all perfectly manicured all the time. But anyway, moving on.
Well, they also put music too, as you were pointing out, but the music in this episode actually gave a good feeling for the scenes that they were in, the darkness, and also the melancholy nature of the Captain Kirk realizing he can't, he's losing his ability to command. He's second guessing himself, and also just sort of they're hunting down the darker Kirk about kind of, you got these violins and darker tones as they wrap around. It was very well done. The actual music was written by a guy named REAL Captain, which you actually hear throughout the rest of Star Trek itself. It's some really good stuff that is done there. I think it actually really conveys the feeling of like a kind of a despair and sadness for the character of Kirk in the situation. What did you think of the music?
Thought it was fantastic. I liked how it did lots of nice little riffs on the main theme, going up to the more minor chords, putting it into a minor chord. Very doom-saying. By the way, just a little bit of criticism I realized. Like a couple of recent episodes, also the Naked Time.
Naked Time? Let's get some Naked Time, baby.
It was...
Yeah.
There was no explanation. Again, there's a conceit, and no, it's such a vague thing. It's like, the ore effed it up. I'm like, what? Why? How? What happened?
Hey, why couldn't they just take a vacuum cleaner and just kind of suck it out? Doesn't make sense. But it's sci-fi. Yeah, that's the sci-fi concept. It happens. You go into space, weird crap happens to you all the time. You have, again, your naked time, or godlike powers because you got hit by a purple cloud, or you live on a planet with people you can't see or touch, or you need salt suckers. Weird crap happens all the time, right? What, that doesn't happen to you on your way to work? Come on.
This is terrifying. It's this terrifying place. Did you ever hear of the book Red Shirts by John Scalzi?
Actually, I have read Red Shirts by John Scalzi. I actually have it. It's sitting across from me. That's the kind of parody of a parody. There's actually a Star Trek story, I think it's close to In a Strange Land. It's not Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert A. Island, but Return to a Strange Land. There was 2 short stories written, and escapes my mind right now. I'm sure the few listeners that are listening will either comment or send in something, and please feel free to do that, everyone, to tell me which one that is. I do have that in the book, too, where the actors get switched and sent to the original series universe. So kind of mirror, except it wasn't good versus evil, which we'll come to later, but actors replacing the stars that the actual characters, which is where Scalzi got his idea from, where the actual characters are. Then you can also see that in kind of like Galaxy Quest, the unofficial Star Trek movie, or the Dark Mirror episode, the USS Callister, which is clearly a Star Trek episode. That was a great episode.
I can't stand the end that the end of like every Dark Mirror episode is someone, not every single one, but the majority of them end the same way. Someone is trapped in a hellish limbo as a result of modern technology that they can never escape. That, it'll take their body, a day to die, but their mind will live out eternities. But
yeah, I agree with you.
Which is just another reason why I refuse to get my brain uploaded if they do come out with some sort of life-expanding technology where it's like, all right, we're going to put your brain into a computer. It'll be just like you. I'm like, absolutely not, man. If my consciousness is preserved, I don't care. I'll just, whatever. We're all meant to die.
You're not going to like Prue Anderson's Heechee Randall rule then. Prue Anderson's book where added artifacts are found. I found these thing they called prayer fans that they could upload human consciousness into these things that are like storage devices. That's actually not their primary purpose, but you'll have to read the book by Prue Anderson. There's a series, and it's pretty good. I assume you haven't read that.
Prue Anderson also wrote on A Pale Horse, right?
Yes. He's written a whole bunch of things, But
I like A Pale Horse quite a bit. I can't believe that has not been made into a TV series or a movie yet.
Well, a lot of books are very difficult to convert. I mean, look at Dune. Look how long that's taken. And,
there have been 3 adaptations of Dune. And I actually would dare argue that...
Actually, there's 4.
Oh, if you're talking about Jodorowsky, the movie?
Yeah, which was insane.
Jodorowsky's Dune is probably my second favorite documentary of all time.
That's some weird crap, I'll tell you that much. Talking about your weirding there, man.
Well, it's just about destination. This is a beautiful piece of cinema, and inspires. You watch Jodorowsky's Dune, you want to go and write the novel you always thought about. But
that aside, we should probably circle back to the episode. Because,
I was going to say that. Yes. All I was going to say is yes, I got it. Yes, we clapped when we heard him say it. Shout out to Rich Evans on that one. Yes, red shirts where they're like, hey, stay out of the narrative. You get close to this narrative, you're gonna die. It's just,
that's true.
Try not to talk to anyone.
It's like a literary butterfly effect. Could be.
Yes.
But that was it's actually a pretty okay book. Red Shirts by Scalzi. Get that one too. Also get exactly. Get Heechee Rendezvous. Also see Galaxy Quest, because we're going to be watching that one eventually as well.
I love that.
Right when they confront Kirk in the engine room, or evil Kirk confronts good Kirk, some of the things in there. Behind him is this weird screen that's actually a piece of the conference room from the second pilot.
Yes.
And Spock does something that starts the entire franchise on Twitter. He creates the Vulcan nerve pinch. And that's the first time it's used. He didn't want to punch somebody. He actually uses the Vulcan nerve pinch on Kirk. That's the first time it was ever used and thought of. Because meanwhile, I thought, Spock is an alien. He's, he's different. His ways are different than ours. So he came up with this kind of alien thing, which says to there is a nerve in your neck that could actually hurt you pretty much. I don't know about knocking you out. I'm sure someone will say, yes, I can. But that was his creation. Is a pretty good thing. I mean, Nimoy came up with other things. We'll get to that as we go along. But that is actually one of the, that is the first thing. So we have no shuttlecraft, a Vulcan nerve pinch, and we got to do something after we've captured, by the way, something we do have to go back a bit. This also has one of the best Shatnerisms of all time. When the evil Kirk is in his quarters, he shouts, I am Captain Kirk. It's one of the most iconic and most memed things on the internet. If you look it up, you'll find hundreds of memes and screams. Hey, it might accidentally be in this podcast. Who knows? But what did you think of him like losing his cool as the evil Captain Kirk in his quarters?
I loved it. Thought he looked great doing it. I thought the cinematography was good. I realized I've never really seen Shatner as a villain. Nothing comes to mind. So it was nice to see this kind of dark side of him. Yeah, he's a good actor. Again, it's all this crap where people claim that he's like one note, or that he doesn't have range. Like, yeah, he doesn't have range in the way like a method actor would have range, but he's an excellent character actor, which is he can convey a wide range of emotion while playing not too many different parts. You know, he's a Saturday matinee idol. He's a good-looking guy. He's a very good actor doing it.
Yeah, I also like the fact that I think he does portray that kind of stoic hero pretty well. I think overall in the series, I mean, to get some vulnerabilities for a character, unlike in modern Trek where no one has any vulnerabilities except tears for everything. He is actually probably one of the better. I find him, but he was my first captain, so to speak, because he was the only game in town. But I will say that he's one of my favorite captains, actually. But I also think it's funny that in his quarters he has heavy makeup for scratches that Janice Rand gave him while he was attempting to rape her.
With stem cell powder.
Yeah, sure, right. It was cover up by Maybelline. No, but it was pretty wild to see it. What do you have? You got a rabbit zits there, Cap? Or something. It was actually pretty neat. That was the only way you could differentiate them from besides the green shirts.
Speaking of captains, by the way, let's go quickly down. We filled out a little survey where we picked our own crew and ship. Mine was Cisco, as would be my captain. Spock would be my first officer. Holographic Doctor would be my physician. His name is Joe, ultimately, right? That's what he chooses?
John? Who knows?
Okay.
The doctor strikes it.
Yes. LaForge would be my engineer, because he's a dedicated nerd who doesn't do too much outside of just working on his engine all day long. And my bridge crew auxiliary staff would be Odo, obvious, smart guy, versatile. Jadzia, generations of experience. Quark, good lateral thinking guy, funny, probably make me a good drink, and hook me up with some X-rated holodeck programs. Tuvok, just because it's always, I think, good to round out with another Vulcan, stronger and smarter than the average person. And 7, I don't know. Maybe
I was to say, I didn't know there was going to be a quiz on that, Mike, so I didn't actually write it down.
I've got yours.
Well, then go ahead. Tell me what I said.
And I would have, my ship would have been Voyager.
Okay.
It's smaller, more advanced, and can land.
Because you secretly love Janeway.
That's not true. Can't stand that voice. Matt
Come on. Does what pays on Norman?
Of course. Matt is Kirk, Spock, so we both have the same. Also the Doctor. I didn't realize that we matched up this much. Scotty. Then his auxiliary staff was Odo, Data, Sulu, Chekhov. I don't know why you do Sulu and Chekhov. They're practically identical. 7.
God must.
And he would choose Enterprise E, which, what the hell?
Why not? It's got, it's got nice color tones and it can kick the ass of everything. That's it.
I don't know, man. Big, unruly, ugly-looking warship. Hold on, let me just look at
gas mileage.
I guess. Let me just quickly say that in my brother's.
Sure.
A second. Oh, come on. Yeah. Joey, check this out. Pike, Worf, Bashir, Geordi, Beta 7, Garrick, Odo, Quark, and he would do the Enterprise D. I pointed out that it would be a horrible idea to have Garrick on your ship, because you would have no
Well, then-
secrets.
Well, then clearly he's not a true Star Trek fan, and he's banned from the show. No, I'm kidding. You can come on anytime.
Joe's puts me to shame with his Star Trek knowledge. Anyway,
That's
okay,
not so
sorry,
hard.
back to the back to it.
So we have to, they figure out after realizing if they just, use some scratch tape, they fix the transfer. It takes a reach for the ionizer, which I guess, that's for your hair. They decide to do something with a cross circuit, blah, 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 blah. And they put the horn dogs together, the evil horn dog that barks at everyone, and the soft, sweet, sensitive dog who just sits there, and they put it all together. They beam it up, and it comes back dead, and we have another first. We have our very first. He's dead, Jim. From Dr. McCoy. They got it all for the dog. For your horn dog that died. Man, damn it, we can't beam the people up. Meanwhile, they're freezing to death on the planet. They're using phasers to heat up rocks. They're trying to build a shelter. There's no place for them to go. Things are breaking down. They're asking for cups of coffee on rope again. Shuttlecraft would have been a great idea. Oh well. They even have a shuttle bay, by the way, in the back of the ship. They just figured, let's just use the transporter. But
sure wouldn't allow us.
Yeah, that's it. Sure. That's exactly it. Yeah, it had quantum tetra beams of something.
Correct.
But Kirk realizes, you know what? He's got to take himself back inside of me. There's a couple of RAID MP3 files of Kirk and Spock making love to each other that uses that phrase. And if you want, there's a whole, you don't know about KS stories? Yeah, Trek Rubels.
I heard of them. Why are you listening to them?
I had lots of Trek memorabilia.
Oh my!
I got lots of stuff. The good, the bad was that ugly. But I have that as a WAV file. If any fan wants one, just shoot me an email eventually.
Oh my God, no! Don't want this, man.
I'm going to put this on Mike's startup for his computer. He'll love it. There we eventually get to the point where we have evil Kirk duping good Kirk, and trying to do the part where the bad guy is pretending to be the good guy. And they have it out on the bridge, but Chris, I think again, Shatner does it and goes, I want to live. And he will, and they go back down to the transporter to reintegrate themselves. And does it work, Mike?
Can you believe it? It sure does. We don't end up with a psychopathic Kirk and a good Kirk.
It's amazing that in the 5th episode of a 26-episode season or whatever, that the main character whose name is on the marquee is not going to not make it in this after episode 5. Well, he does obviously make it. What did you actually think of the shooting of the devils on the bridge as compared to also on the transporter? Did you still find it mildly believable between the two?
Yeah, a little worse. The hair was a little off, but no, not bad at all.
Yeah, it's pretty much enjoyable, I think. And when we come to the ending of the episode, which is basically, you okay, Jared? Yeah, beating those guys up. They went back up. Yeah, just everything else by Billy Fat. I just throw them in the oven for 375, 15 minutes. These guys will be fine. So, went on down, and then we come to the cringiest part of the entire episode, which at least I pointed out.
Right. So Matt seems to think that Kirk, that Spock implies that Rand, I guess, wanted something naughty to happen. But my whole thing too is, as I'm reflecting on this, the whole point is that this is just letting out that the evil, quote unquote, evil Kirk.
That's true.
Well, no, it wasn't Kirk that didn't exist. It was just a part of him that was all id, right? I mean, Gene Roddenberry positive was getting the pop science time.
I'm sure he wanted that to blow. Yeah.
Right. So the point being that obviously he was the fact that he went after her in his unhinged state shows that he does have those feelings, that he does find her attractive, that he is attracted to her, and she is attracted to him. So now she knows that it's not just one-sided. He didn't go running to someone else's quarters. So, I think that was just kind of like her looking at it as a little encouraging to a crush, but a dark side of a, potentially violent situation.
Yeah, I always read it exactly as like Spock, kind of in a jokey way, which is uncharacteristic, not characteristic of a Vulcan, saying like, there's some things you liked of that devil wearing there. And she gives him this kiss my ass look, which is pretty easy with those uniforms. But the things that got, how short they are. But I just think it's almost like, yeah, it's okay. But that's a true animal sled that you want, isn't it, lady? In the prior episode, The Naked Time, there was a part where Kirk is actually pining the fact that he can't give himself over to Yeoman Rand, so no beach to walk on, talking about a romantic time with his yeoman, because he's also attracted to her, and that was actually written into the script, but that actually goes nowhere for the series. It's not really a spoiler. We'll see that as it goes along, and Yeoman Rand isn't in the entire series. She does come, Grace Lee Whitney is actually fired later, but she does come back in several other things, and like I said, I met her. She was actually a pretty nice person when I met her, but no, I did not say, I'd like to walk on a beach with you. I think kind of it was implied that she liked the more forceful Kirk in some way, but I think when you take it with the scene together, it does kind of have an extreme negative reaction. It was to me anyway. It's like, yuck. That's kind of pretty sleazy there, Mr. Spock, but that's just my opinion. So overall, that's pretty much where the episode ends, and we go ahead, we're ready to arrange to our next lunar adventure. What do you think of this episode overall? On our favorite, would you say, would you recommend watching it for a Star Trek movie, or what would you say?
Yes, 100%. This is probably the best original series episode I've seen so far. I give it a 9 out of 10.
Excellent. I also give it a 9 out of 10. So we have to keep track of all of our numbers. We had a lot of 7s, but 9 out of 10 for me as well. What's your WTF moment for this? Because if you can't tell, that is my WTF moment response. Is you like the animalistic bird? That's for me is like, really? But what was yours? Did you have one? Or you were enamored with the dog?
The dog. Just seeing the dog in the beginning. That was pretty out of left field, man. Wait, what did you do to this poor dog?
You don't like that? I mean, you're not going to give her for your dog cannoli? You're not going to get one? You make an outfit like that?
No, of course not.
I think between your two dogs, I think you had both of those dogs. The evil, vicious dog that tries to kill everybody, and your sweet, soft dog, even though they're two different animals.
Well,
one being your wife's and one being yours.
No, it's not a huge fan of this either, gotta say.
Oh, yeah.
But
I think Cannoli can wear that uniform, too. Cannoli's what is she, a Shih Tzu?
Shih Tzu mixed with a Pomeranian.
And your demon dog is what?
Zoe's a very sweet dog. And Zoe, she is Hound, Basset, mixed a little with a Husky and something else.
Yeah, some Bourbon, I think.
Okay. She's so sweet. She lets me pick her up now. She's really, really sweet pie.
And he only has 8 fingers left, folks, so finally played off. Good job. So that was our episode. Anything else you'd like to mention or talk about? Are you excited for the...
It's getting better. I can't wait to see where it goes. It seems like it's pretty astonishing that after only 5 episodes, it's really in its stride. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing that the first episode, the first season is so fantastic, and then you look at other sci-fi shows, not just Trek, it usually takes a season or 2 or 3 to get its feelings, and sometimes newer series, I mean not its feelings, its stride, and some newer series don't catch its stride at all. But our next episode's coming up, and we'll try and get it up next week, we promise, barring any weirdness.
No, it's not me, and I'm much more free this weekend.
All right, we're going to try and get this out next week. But the next episode is Mud's Women, which is the episode of Space Wives, or Rose, depending on your point of view.
Hey,
You say it, I ain't doing it now. But that's basically it. So we hope you enjoyed our episode of yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. Mike, you want to sing us out again?
Da, 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 da.
That's DF5.
Yes.
All right. Thank you again for joining us at Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, and we'll see you on the next round. Live long and prosper, Mike.
Love you, Matt. Bye.
Bye.